Hi, I'm Taylor Dill, and I'm the PhD student for Battle for the Belt. I'm out here at the Wooster location with Dr. Osler Ortez, our state corn specialist. Thanks for coming out to be with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me as one more of the episodes of Battle for the Belt. What we are planning to cover today, this afternoon, is first we will look a little bit at the staging. Where are we at this research location? 5 planting dates already completed. We are right in front of planting date 1. Planting date 1 for this location was, it came into the ground April 22nd. And as far as staging wise, we are looking here at our 4-stage crop. Dove stage, that's what we can see. Our ear sample confirmed that. We have silks that are already dry, and we are already looking at a grain filling period in this case. Taylor, any notes for this planting date?
So for this planting date, we're standing in front of our 100-day hybrid. We have a 100 to 115-day. Almost all of them are at the R4 stage, except for our 115-day hybrid. It's a little bit behind. At this location, our disease pressure has been pretty low, so it's been a fairly clean field so far in this planting date.
Excellent, thank you. Let's move to the next one.
Okay, so we're out here in planting date 2. This was planted on May 3rd. What have you been seeing out here, Osler?
So what we can see right now, a very clean canopy, a lot of vegetative growth. We have a tendency, Taylor, that is not only happening here in Wooster, but also at the other research stations, where later planting dates, planting day 2, planting day 3, seem to have a higher height than the planting date 1 that we just saw before. So that's something interesting to note. You guys were collecting measurements earlier today as far as plant height, so we will be able to confirm that. Stage-wise, we are on planting day 2. This is May 3rd, and the stage that we are looking at is at the milk stage, R3. We have an ear sample here. Which hybrid was this?
This was the 115-day.
115-day hybrid from planting day 2, and predominantly, regardless of the hybrid, we are at the milk stage.
This is our 3rd planting date, and it was planted on May 21st. What are we seeing out here, Osler?
All right, so as we are moving into later planting dates, we have less development in our crop, and the stage that we are categorizing for planting day 3 is pretty much at the silking stage. We have pretty fresh, very fresh silks still, and this is being consistent across the different hybrids. Again, in terms of height and canopy structure, very robust, a lot of good greenness, very little disease or no disease, and plant height will give us a confirmation if what kind of canopy structure are we getting out here with planting day 3.
So this is our 4th planting date, and we planted this on June 4th. So what have we been seeing out here?
All right, so when it comes to planting day 4, we don't have any tassels out here yet. We don't have silks. We are still at the vegetative stages. It is an advanced vegetative stage. If we do the count, we are right around B13 stage, Taylor. That is 13 developed leaves with very clearly visual colors. So that's where we are out here, B13, no tassels, no silks. In terms of canopy health and structure, it's looking pretty good. Nitrogen has been already applied. Side dress certainly helping out. And we will see what we find out on the last planting date.
So this is our 5th planting date, and this was planted on June 20th. So what are we looking at here, Osler?
Taylor, we have a crop here that, looking at the developmental stages, is at approximately the B8 stage, 8 developed leaves, 8 colors. And the method or the strategy that we use for corn is painting leaves. We know that as the crop is growing taller, we are losing some of the bottom leaves in the canopy, and we need to have a good control system to track the stage of the crop, what number of leaves do you guys are you painting for these plots?
Sure, we start off painting our fifth leaf. So we count from our first leaf with the thumb shape and count up to 5 leaves. Paint that, and then those actually will die off fairly quickly. So as soon as we can see the 10th leaf, regardless of whether it's in the whorl, we'll paint that. And if you see a little bit of disease on the bottom leaves, it'll die a little faster, so you have to be pretty prompt with some of the painting here.
Excellent, excellent. Every time I come out to the plots, it's a really easy method to categorize or figure out the stage for this plot, so I really appreciate that. And we can clearly see here today, you guys do normally 10 plants per plot?
10 per plot, yeah.
10 plants per plot. So again, this is a really helpful method. It can help us to categorize stages. It's a very good control system during the vegetative stages. As we enter reproductive stages, from silking and tasseling and forward, we are no longer counting number of leaves. We are now looking at silks development, tassel development, and then grain filling stages from that point forward, grain or kernel development stages from that point forward. But at this point, we don't have any of that, and we really need to rely in the system that we have portrayed here.
So we have quite a range of stages out here in our 5 planting dates. Can you give us some highlights of what physiologically is going on in each of these stages?
Excellent, and that's a very good question, Taylor, especially summarizing what we just saw. We have planting dates as early as April 22nd. We have the last planting date on June 20th. Right there we have almost 60-day period of planting window. That is a reality for many growers in the state. That can be a reality for many growers in the state who try to plant early, and then there are those where activities in the field get delayed for whatever reason, and you end up planting late or even replanting scenarios. So it's important to keep that in mind, and that planting date has a direct implication on the crop development and staging through all the growing season. From those 60-day planting window that we have in this field, Taylor, we had the range of B8 stage over here, and then corn as far as along as R4 dove stage. What is happening in between that? There is a lot going on. Basically, when we look at the beginning of the season after germination, after crop emergence, the plants that are just B6, as early as B6 stage, knee-high corn, those plants are already developing they are developing ear shoots that will eventually become ears, primary ears, secondary ears, tertiary ears in some cases. So those ear shoots are being developed as early as the B4, B6 stage. At the same time, we have tassels developing that early in the season. We have plants only this tall perhaps, and microscopically we can see with dissection, careful dissection, those tassels, those ear shoots can be identified. Certainly we cannot see them out here, but in a lab we can. So there is that happening. If something, environmental conditions, nutrient, water are not adequate in these different periods, there can be implications as we are developing yields. So that's quite early in the season. Once those ears and ear shoots and tassels are being developed inside the plant, there are also, those will continue growing over the second half of the vegetative stages. We are developing the potential ear size during these mid to late vegetative stages. That potential ear size is also influencing the potential number of kernels that we are going to have in a ear. We know that the actual number of kernels is not determined until successful pollination. Once that pollination has already happened and those ovules have been fertilized, we have kernels that are being formed, and then that's where we start our grain filling period for the second half of the season during the reproductive stages. And that's where we are. So we have anything from small plants with early ears, shoots, and early tassels being developed here. And then we have on the other spectrum, we have kernels that are already well into the grain filling period at the dove stage. So all of this is critical. All of this is critical, and it's important to understand what is happening physiologically. That gives us better management options and decisions.
So at the end of the season, though, you can also kind of see how our stress happened in the season by looking at our ear, right? Because that development starts really early.
Exactly. We can use some diagnostic tools or diagnostic concepts, and if we look at ears later in the season and we identify that there is a problem, poor pollination, tip back, some abnormal ears, those things we can kind of trace back. When did that happen? When did the stress happen in order to result in the final outcome that we can see later in the season? So,
So you mentioned that during each of these stages, we need adequate conditions, which most of the time means that we need enough water for the plant to function. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
absolutely happy to share some insights about that, Taylor. We know that water is one of the primary resources that a crop or a plant needs to survive and to produce. That's certainly true for corn. And just to give you some context, in order to produce approximately 200 bushels of corn, we need about 20 inches of water in that growing season. That water has two components. We know there is the water that is water losses from the soil, that is evaporation. And we also have water losses from the crop itself, that is the transpiration. Those two can happen simultaneously. And when we say that 200 bushels of corn need 20 inches of water, that is accounting for both components. Water loss from the soil and water transpired by the crop. That's big picture. So if we want 200 bushels of corn, we better have 20 inches of water available for that growing season. Now, we can go a little bit more into detail, especially with a field like this one. We have stages ranging from vegetative to reproductive, and the amount of water that the crop needs is influenced by the stage of that crop. For corn specifically, the silking stage is the most critical for water availability. We have our planting day trees at the silking stage right now, and the water use that is estimated for a silking stage crop is approximately 0.3 inches of water per day. If we do that per week, that's about 2 inches per week. Keep in mind that that water can be coming from precipitation, which we are getting some right now, and that water can also come from soil storage. If we have good water conditions in the soil and we are not getting the rains that we need, perhaps the soil is supplementing a good chunk of that. Now, if the soil is dry and we are not getting the precipitation that we need, that's when we can face stress for the crop. We can have leaf rolling. I heard some reports from the state of Ohio earlier this week. There are places where pineappling is already happening. Not here. Here we have a very happy canopy. We have had enough conditions in the soil, enough good conditions in the soil. We have had some rains, not a lot. I checked the numbers the whole month of July for this particular location. We had about 2.3 inches of rain. So if we think about silking stage crop, it can use it in a week, but that's what we got in a month. But again, so far, no signs of stress where we are. That water requirement is less earlier in the season, like the crop we are right now, the plots where we are. And that water requirement is less at the end of the season. So again, the most critical time where we really need rain or good soil conditions, soil moisture conditions, is silking and tasseling and around that period of time. If we don't have what we need, that can be penalizing our yield at the end of the season.
Thank you, Osler, for the insights on water and corn. So we're going into yield estimating season, and I was wondering what your thoughts are on which of our planting dates you think is going to do the best so far as we enter into August.
Excellent. That's a tricky question. Twofold question also. So first, yield estimate season. Generally, we recommend doing those once we have milk stage at minimum and from that point forward. Earlier estimates, earlier than the milk stage, is kind of subjective. We don't have a clear idea of number of kernels really going into the grain filling period. So we want to wait for those yield estimates until milk stage and forward if possible. The second part of your question, which planting date is going to make it here in Wooster? That's where we are today, and based on what we saw this afternoon, I believe I will bet on planting day 3, Taylor, and also being a little bit fair. I know that last year our planting day 3 at this location was really the best planting date for highest yields, both corn and soybeans. So planting day 3 is my bet. What is your bet?
My bet for here is also planting date 3, and planting day 3 subjectively looks the prettiest at each location so far, so probably planting day 3.
That was on the back of my mind. It's the tallest crop so far, so we will see more, hopefully maybe some more photosynthesis, more activity there that can help us accumulate a little bit more of extra yield. We will see. Time will tell. See you next time, and thank you.